Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another episode. Today I've got yet another subscriber question today. This one comes from YouTube, and this comes from one of the subscribers that I guess are one of the most active people in the comment section. So you may see this person down there. They ask questions all the time. So thank you for your questions. You will know who you are after I read this question. And this is a good question that I think is applicable to a lot of people, because I feel like a lot of people that are in the industry watch this channel and listen to the podcast, especially a lot of study coordinators. So this will be applicable to all of you study coordinators and maybe to some of you other people out there too. So this question says, I am grossly underpaid as a study coordinator at a top academic research institution, and my director has decided to submit a salary request, but is asking I provide documentation / justification that he can present on my behalf. Do you have any advice? Okay, so I realize I slightly misunderstood your question when I responded in the comments, but now I understand your question. So basically what you're asking for are some points you can point to when they go to ask for more salary for you that can basically back up why you're worth that salary. Okay, I'll get to that. But the larger point of your question is you are grossly underpaid as a study coordinator. So what typically happens in this situation is you go to your boss, you tell them you're grossly underpaid, and sometimes they say, we'll see what we can do. And in that case, they will, on your behalf, try and get you some more money. But every department typically has a budget, and they have a budget for what they can pay you. And, sometimes they have a little extra in the budget. Sometimes they don't. But really what it comes down to is leverage. What is your leverage? Are you the only study coordinator on the site? So if you left, the whole operation would shut down? Because believe me, the PI has no interest in doing what a study coordinator does. So a study coordinator, if you're empowered, has actually a lot of leverage in this situation because no one else wants to do what they do. Study coordinators work their tail off. They do so much work, and a lot of them, you're right. Even when you're paid at market value, I believe you're underpaid for the work that you do. Study coordinators do so much work. So it sounds like in order to get your salary, he's going to argue on your behalf. But what's going to happen is, let's say you provide some good arguments and they decide to raise your salary. They're probably still not going to raise you to what you're worth. They're going to raise you to the exact amount they think you will take so you don't leave. And that's a different number. So my advice for you is, I don't know how long you've been at your company, but it's probably over 2 years. So my advice for you is to change jobs. Now, this may be easier said than done. You may not work at a place with a bunch of clinics or a bunch of people hiring, but my first thing I would definitely look at is change jobs. I've talked about this all the time. The max you want to stay at some place is 2 to 3 years in this economic climate. This is not back in the day, the 70s, 80s, even 90s, where people stay at their companies for 15, 20 years. The company did right by them. They didn't fire them. They got a pay raise every year. They got a pension. They got a 401k matching. They got hooked up. So if you stayed at a company for 25 years, you could retire and they would hook you up until the day you died. That is no longer the case. That is no longer the case. So you have got to look out for you. So that's what I recommend is they're probably not going to give you what you want. Maybe if you're lucky, they will, but then you're going to have the same issue later on. And then if they do give you what you want, you're probably going to be asking yourself, why didn't you guys just give me this earlier? Why did I have to fight for this? Why did I have to come with you and bring up all these reasons for me to get this? I mean, it's just bureaucracy. They're going to make you jump through hoops to get this little bit of a bump. But like I said, they're likely just going to give you just enough so you don't leave. And then next year and the year after that, you're going to be having this same discussion. So the best thing for you to do is take that leverage, use that mobility that I always talk about. If you haven't seen that episode, Mobility is Your Best Move, go check that out. I talk about being mobile. Take that mobility that you have and go work elsewhere. Go apply for jobs elsewhere. Because what you can also do is say, hey, I've got an offer at this place for this much money. Can you guys match this? I really don't want to leave. I like working here, et cetera, et cetera. Now you have a lot more leverage in your hand because you actually clearly have an offer from somewhere else. And if they don't match it or at least come close enough for you, then you're clearly going to leave. And you have a clear indicator of what your market value is. But this way, when you go talk to your boss, you don't have as much leverage. You're basically asking, can you do me a favor here? Can you raise my salary? You're basically asking. And no one likes to be in that position. So what I recommend for everybody, analyze your situation, 2 to 3 years max at any organization you're at or any role that you're in, and you've got to move. You've got to keep moving, whether within the organization, different departments, or at the other organizations. You've got to keep moving. So that's what I would do if I was in your situation. I would look at moving, possibly looking at becoming a CRA, possibly look at some of the other roles in the CRO space. You've got great experience. You're at a study coordinator at an academic institution, so that's great experience. But back to more what your question is dealing with. What justification can you present on your behalf to the higher ups to say you're basically worth that extra salary? So basically what I would talk about is what protocols you run. You know which protocols are big. If they're high enrolling, talk about all the work you do with all those patients. If you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and up patients at your site, talk about all that work. Talk about your recruitment efforts. Patient recruitment is huge. Sponsors are obsessed with patient recruitment. If you're a good recruiting site, they will never cut you off. They will pretty much never cut you off. And as long as you recruit those patients, they're going to love you forever. And they're going to reward you handsomely for that. So talk about your patient recruitment efforts. That's really what I would focus on is that. And, you can just talk about your overall, work ethic and, you feel like you're underpaid for what you do. And maybe you have some other numbers you can throw in there. You can talk about definitely patient recruitment is one where you can talk about, I recruited 10 patients for this study or 10 patients for that study. You can talk about how many patients you've screened and all those different things dealing with recruitment. You know those things. You're a coordinator. So anything where you can provide some numbers to, I'm trying to think what else. Typically any time where you saved the site some money on something is always a good idea and made the site a little extra money. But recruitment is huge, so I always kind of start there when it comes to any type of salary justification or any type of negotiation. You definitely want to think about recruitment and patient recruitment. So basically to summarize, I say look at other places where you can work. And I know that sounds harsh and you probably are comfortable at where you are, but the only time you're going to get the best time to negotiate your salary is when you're getting into a company. That's the best time. Other than that, they're going to try and keep you low. People that work at these companies for 5, 10, 15 years, they're way underpaid. They've been there a while, they're comfortable, and, they're just way underpaid. And I've seen it time and time again. Someone that comes in new, they reset the market. Sort of like in the NFL when the next quarterback up kind of resets the market and they get a huge salary or any position for that matter. They get a huge salary, much bigger than the previous ones. It's like that in the corporate world too. Whoever comes in newest has the most salary, has the highest salary usually, unless there's, a pretty good reason for them not to. So look, you want to get your salary up, moving is the best option. By far the best option. That's where you'll get paid the most straight up. So definitely recommend moving. That's my number one option. Other than that, you can negotiate with them and see what they say. But you're going to be in the same position next year or the year after. Because every year you get more experience, you're worth more and more. And, you're just going to constantly be in that same position. It's not worth it just getting that, 3 to 5% annual increase every year. Because inflation's at 3% a year, 3 to 4% a year. That's really nothing. It's basically just to keep up with inflation. So it's really not even a raise. So you want to make sure that, you're able to move if you can. And I know you may not be in a place with a lot of other, academic institutions or other places conducting research, but keep your eyes open. You can work for a CRO or a pharma company, wherever you are. I don't know where you're based, but keep it open. If that's not an option, then I guess you have to, stick with this and try and think of some justifications, but I would definitely start with patient recruitment. All right. Thank you so much for your question. If any of you guys have other questions, email me eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Take care.